way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol.
Did nobody check him for no steroid? I said, he had quick hands, he would hit. I said, why y'all ain't checking for steroid? He ain't checking steroid. And then...
You think he was on steroids?
Of course he was on steroid.
What we don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids.
Boxing legend Evander Holyfield has stirred up trouble by hinting that Canelo Alvarez might be using steroids. With the heat rising before Canelo's fight against Terence Crawford, Holyfield's blunt comments have set off a wave of outrage and debate in the boxing world.
Greatest Mexican boxing fights of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. So I feel like I'm 100% confident in myself. If Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me. Especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him, he never got off steroids.
You think he's on steroids?
Of course.
Sure.
How does five?
You saw De La Hoya.
How do five people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids? Right. All those fucking dudes in that camp are dirty.
Yeah.
Holyfield didn't flat out call Canelo a steroid user, but he made it clear he wants harsher punishments for anyone who tests positive. Back in 2018, when Canelo popped for clenbuterol, Holyfield said fighters caught using PEDs should spend 30 days behind bars.
Alvarez failed a drug test before his big Triple G fight in May, and he's blaming Mexican cows. All right, here's the deal. 2 months until the rematch with Gennady Golovkin on May 5th is going to be the big fight, and he's been taking drug tests leading up to the fight, standard operating procedure. This time he popped for a substance called clenbuterol, which is a banned substance. As a matter of fact, it helps you cut weight. A lot of people use it illegally to cut weight while maintaining muscle mass. He is saying he did not cheat. He's not a cheater. I did not intentionally take clenbuterol. Problem is, I've been training in Mexico and eating contaminated cow beef. That's what he's saying. There's a problem apparently in Mexico where some of the cattle are being injected with clenbuterol, which helps cows. It's illegal in the United States, but some places outside the United States, even some places in the United States, will use clenbuterol to grow bigger cows, to up the protein content in the meat. And he's saying that what he had was contaminated meat because his training center is in Mexico and there's a problem with Mexican meat down there. He even issued a statement saying, quote, "I'm an athlete who respects the sport, and this surprises me and bothers me because it had never happened to me. I will submit to all the tests that require me to clarify this embarrassing situation, and I trust in the end the truth will prevail." So far, the fight with Gennady Golovkin is still on. He's still dead set on making that fight.
Floyd Mayweather has blasted the boxing world for having a double standard on steroid use, especially when it comes to Canelo Alvarez. He says some fighters get grilled for it, while stars like Canelo get a free pass because they make money for the sport. According to Mayweather, this protects big names while damaging boxing's integrity. He calls PED use straight-up cheating that also puts fighters' health at risk, making the sport look corrupt.
But what we don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids. They don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. He could have been not clean in a lot of fights. Canelo, and the list goes on and on about athletes that's been cheating.
Been accused of cheating or been proven?
No, been proven too.
This been proven.
Yeah. Oh, Canelo. Oh shit.
This been proven.
Lance Armstrong.
And then Canelo talking about it was the steak that it was the meat that he was eating. So okay, now you eating. I guess you eating steroid cows. Man, these boys kill me.
When the greatest Canelo came out, the one that you guys seen that fought Triple G the first time, bro, dude popped dirty for clenbuterol, bro. Why do you think the second fight didn't happen? So for me, seeing that was the best Canelo I've ever seen. But that was Canelo off of steroids. Everybody else that he fought Amir Khan, he fought Daniel Jacobs, he fought, what the f is his name? Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant. These guys are all weak, bro. So for me, that's why I feel like I see Canelo Alvarez and I see like he's not as good as everybody thinks. Because the best one that fought Golovkin that first time was off clenbuterol. That was the best Canelo I've ever seen, and that's why he looked so good, because he was off clenbuterol. So with the Canelo, he even got suspended for like 7 months.
So it's guaranteed he was
guaranteed he took it. He said that he ate meat that was tainted in Mexico.
Now, let me ask you that question.
I've talked to people. They said for him to test positive off a piece of meat, he would have had to eat the whole.
Eddie Reynoso's gym is under heavy fire after multiple fighters in his camp have been linked to doping scandals. Most famously, Canelo Alvarez, Reynoso's star pupil, has already been tied to steroid controversy in the past. Critics highlight a pattern. Several Reynoso-trained fighters have tested positive, sparking serious doubts about what's really going on in that gym. Now, with Canelo bulking up fast ahead of his fight with Terence Crawford, people are watching every move and every muscle closely.
Addressed serious accusations about his gym. And the accusations are that people, or at least the implications are, that he is the one that is providing performance-enhancing drugs or is in some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol 2 times. For Fahim Satur, I'll say that he did it 2 times, even though I think it was for the same fight. But Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for clenbuterol 2 times. You have Luis Nery, who had tested positive, but I think Luis Nery tested positive before he was with Eddie Reynoso. Then you have Ryan Garcia, who popped dirty after he left Eddie Reynoso and went over to Derek James. And then you have Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez popped dirty while he was with Eddie Reynoso, but at the time he was still allowed to fight. You also clearly see that you have an issue with the fight that's coming up with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, in that you have one guy that tested positive and you have another guy that looks like he's using in order to get up and continue to climb up weight classes. You know, at a certain point in time, and this is something that Rolly Romero has said, certain point in time, your body just doesn't do that. At a certain point in time, your body just doesn't do it. I'm 6'2", 200, and should weigh about 210. Closer to 250, but I should weigh about 210. I'm not gonna get up. If I was 210 now at 50 years old.
Many boxing analysts point out that packing on serious muscle naturally in your 30s is no easy feat, yet Canelo Alvarez's recent bulk up, looking far bigger than in past years, has people questioning if it's all natural. The suspicion only grows because of Eddie Reynoso's gym's shady history, where multiple fighters have tested positive for banned substances. With that track record, critics are openly doubting the environment and methods behind Canelo's transformation.
Muscle as if I'm juicing. If for a 30-year-old, right, you remember, your body grows, men's body can grow in height and length up until to the extreme in your 20s. By the time you're 20, your height and all that stuff is there, right? Your height and your length. In your mid-20s, you know, by the time you're 29, your musculature is pretty much there. It gets harder to gain and put on muscle after 30.